All right, I do believe we're live. So here we are to talk Avengers. There's so much to talk about, though.
I know.
So where do we really want to unravel this thing first?
Can I start by talking about our sponsor?
You mean the sponsor that you hope we get?
Yeah,
Who's that?
Dr. Pepper. Dr. Pepper. It's a delicious drink. They should sponsor us and send us crates of Dr. Pepper.
Okay.
Dr. Pepper.
And Dr. Pepper. Okay, so we got a whole lot of stuff that we're going to be getting to here. Do we want to jump right into Avengers, or do we want to get into the who's the strongest, who's the fastest, who's the most powerful? Because these are two completely different conversations.
Avengers.
So you want to jump into the
Yeah,
Avengers?
I think so.
Okay, so do you want me to tell you, did you hear my theory at all?
Nope.
Okay, so let me tell my theory first. Because so far, as of right now, in regards to the MCU, we aren't sure what they're going to be doing for Phase 4. We don't really know. We know that Spider-Man Far From Home is coming out. But other than that, they haven't really announced anything. We know
But
that
they're definitely going to do a Black Panther.
We know that they're going to do a Black Panther 2. They're going to be doing a Doctor Strange 2. They're going to be looking to do Guardians of the Galaxy 3 because remember there's that huge hullabaloo about James Gunn and they got him back. So there's a lot of different things that they had hinted to and that we kind of know are coming up, but they haven't announced anything yet. So one of the things I think that they're going to get to is that they teased at the very end of Guardians of the Galaxy 2 Adam Warlock.
Yeah.
Now, in the comics, he plays a major role in the Infinity Gauntlet because he's the one that really, they kind of made it look like Captain Marvel was going to be that character, by introducing her right before, which they're going to do a Captain Marvel 2 as well. But the big thing was he lived inside the Soul Stone. Like, that's where he existed. So what I think they could potentially do, because the Guardians of the Galaxy 3 is going to be all about trying to find Gamora. Which Gamora are they trying to find? Are they going to go try to find the one that was killed, maybe her soul is trapped somewhere else? Or is the 2014 Gamora, did she survive Tony Stark's snap? And are they going to go try to find her? I've heard that theory that he only got rid of Thanos and all of his minions, but the 2014 Gamora still alive, but she bolted after everything. So they're going to kind of try to go do some sort of a track her down sort of a storyline. For me, I would like them to see taking the Adam Warlock sense, where he lives inside the Soul Stone, and his whole goal is to go help them find her. Because or at least not my understanding, but what my belief is that she was trapped inside the Soul Stone. If you're killed so that somebody can get the Soul Stone,
you stay inside
your
the Soul
soul
Stone?
is trapped there.
Okay.
At least that's what I'm going with here. And so I think it'd be kind of cool to take that part of the comics with Adam Warlock and make that the storyline for Guardians of the Galaxy 3 of trying to find Gamora that way. Because the one thing that I hope that they don't do is it's like, oh, well, you've just got this person in this different timeline over here. Just go get them. Or, this person survived this. So just go, how they do it in the comics where it's like, oh, well, this person suddenly popped back up again because there was a different reality and they now came into this one. I really hope they don't do that in the movies. So that's my theory.
All right. First of all, I hate when a beloved movie series uses time travel. I thought it ruined all the new Star Trek movies for me. And, that was like a whole different timeline. So it's like, oh, you've loved this thing for 50 years. Let's just annihilate everything that's ever been done. And one of the reasons I don't like Endgame as much as I liked Infinity War is because they use this plot device, which is one of my least favorites, which is, oh, let's just go back in time to deal with this, because you could always say, well, why doesn't the bad guy just go back in time before that? And then they could go back in time before that, and so on and so forth. And an example of that is Black Widow. We think Black Widow's probably got a solo movie coming up.
Mm-hmm. Which now they're alluding to being a prequel.
Maybe, but they could also say, you know what, let's just go back again to 2014, get the 2014 Black Widow, and bring her ahead to the future, like what happened with Gamora. Gamora had the same fate inside the Soul Stone, so why don't they just go get, and for that matter, get Tony Stark too.
But see, and that's what I hope they don't do, because one of the things that also that does and they allude to that in Endgame, is that by disrupting these other timelines like that, it really sets off a whole different chain of events that occurs. And the Ancient One is the one who explains that to Bruce when he's trying to get the Time Stone from her. And she draws the line and she plucks it out and she shows you like, okay, so if you change this, this completely alters this. Now, my buddy Frank is in the YouTube chat here. He says, no Soul Stone though. I think the stones still technically exist because when the Ancient One is explaining to Bruce, basically these stones that were created at the very beginning of the universe, they are what create everything. Okay. It's reality, it's power, it's time, it's truly it's everything that create what is the universe. So if the stones are gone, the universe should be gone as well. But what I think happened is that even when Thanos did it and he just, gave the snap to get rid of the soul stones, I don't think it eliminated them. I don't think you can. I think that the stones are probably too powerful for that. I don't think that you can get rid of them because I think if that were to happen, there would have been far more drastic repercussions than just him having a burnt arm.
Okay, here's why I don't like time travel as a plot device. So Fat Thor goes back to Asgard to get the Tesseract.
Yeah. He goes to Asgard to get the reality stone.
The reality.
The ether.
Okay. So he goes to Asgard. He doesn't run into his former self. He runs into his mother. And right before he goes, he makes his hammer come to him. So that
Thor in that timeline now doesn't have his hammer.
And has no idea what happened to it. He's probably looking all over for that hammer.
See, and that is a pretty major plot hole right there.
Okay.
I will agree with that one wholeheartedly. Eli of the Moon's asking, how are they going to bring in Fantastic Four and the X-Men? Here's another thing that I really hope that they do is, and I don't know if you'd have to completely reboot, you might have to, but there could be ways to do this, is to do the X-Men versus Avengers storyline that they did in the comics, which is pretty cool. But the only problem with that is that whole storyline is wrapped around the Phoenix. And they're already doing the Phoenix movie here.
I think they're going to disregard all those.
You think that they're just going to completely just get rid of all those X-Men's and they're just going to reboot the whole thing?
Well, it's going to come over to Disney, right? Those properties are going to
Yeah, those are the Fox properties that are making these movies, and then Disney has bought them.
Yeah, I think they'll probably just that thing has become a whole mess of overlapping timelines because of the time travel plot device.
Mm-hmm.
By
the way, El Cholango said that Cap went back and took the hammer back to Asgard. Remember when he went to take the stones back, he had Mjolnir with him.
Did he?
Yeah.
I guess I need to see it again.
No, he did. So thanks for the heads up on that. Yeah, so he took the hammer back and he dropped it back off in Asgard.
I thought maybe he was just taking it with him because he uses it now.
Yeah, because that's his thing now. He technically could use it as much as he wants, just so long as he ends up back at that point when Thor takes it and gives it back. You know what I mean?
Once again, the whole time travel, not a fan. I think it's lazy.
Well, I thought it was incredibly well done because I thought it did a brilliant job of wrapping up 11 years of storytelling, kind of taking us to the past to see it, but filling in a lot of plot holes. I thought it was really funny how they kept saying, like, we can't do this, we can't do this, we can't do that. Like Scott Lang, Ant-Man was saying that. And that's when he asked him flat out, he was like, are you actually saying that all of your knowledge comes from Back to the Future? And then he finds out, he's like, Back to the Future is bullshit. So I like that aspect of it.
So did it spin off a different reality, like an alternate universe when they did go back in time?
No, because, actually, in one of them it did, because if you think about it, and this could be a whole way that the stones still exist in some way, shape, or form, remember, Loki ends up with a Tesseract. Because after the Battle of New York, they're trying to take the Tesseract. Tony gets busted by the Hulk because the Hulk's angry that he had to take the stairs, which then tosses. Ant-Man goes to push the suitcase, but ultimately it ends up, ending up right in front of Loki, who grabs it and then vanishes.
I like the elevator scene where it's almost like in Winter Soldier, and Cap's going to end up fighting all the people in the elevator, but instead he just goes,
Hail Hydra, and then just walks out with it. Yeah. I thought that was awesome. Which
would make you wonder why a bunch of high-ranking Hydra members wouldn't say, does anybody else know about Captain America being secretly a member of Hydra? before we give him this powerful thing?
I mean, if he's willing to say "Hail Hydra" like that, maybe you're going to take him for granted right there. Like you're going to, how else would he know? Because the whole point was secrecy at that point.
I just think you'd fact check that.
Okay, well, what other plot holes did you see um, in the movie?
Hulk was like 3 feet shorter than he was in the previous movies. Hulk was like around 10 feet tall, and as he was walking side by side with Thor, he looked to be about 7, maybe a little over 7 feet tall. Why?
I think some of that had to do with the fact that he's now not the Hulk when he's enraged. It's the fact that he said he spent 18 months in a lab trying to get the best of both worlds, and that is the best Hulk at that size. Like,
Okay.
It's not necessarily the Hulk is going to be the exact same size.
Ever since the Ang Lee disaster, the Hulk with Eric Bana,
Mhm.
I've heard people saying, "Oh, well, you didn't know that the angrier the Hulk gets, the bigger he gets." Which to that I say bullshit, because I read a lot of Hulk comics, and
He was
it
always
would
the same
vary.
size.
It would vary based on the artist, and the perspective and stuff. But if you remember that Eric Bana version of the Hulk, he was like 20 feet tall. He was more the size of King Kong.
Mhm.
And in the comics,
The
I
original
think it was
King
pretty.
Kong, not the King Kong that's the size of the building.
Yeah, the original King Kong. Yeah, he looked shorter, but I guess you could say
That's just how it turned out.
stuff that happened off screen.
Yeah. And I think that's also something that could possibly, because if you remember, think about Star Wars here. People were always complaining about how, this one little air duct, this one vent can take down an entire Death Star. That seems so stupid. Why would they never catch that? And then Rogue One comes out and completely shores up that plot hole. It was done on purpose.
It was sabotage. It was put there as a failsafe.
Exactly. Juan says in the YouTube chat here that in the comics, Captain America worked for Hydra at one point. Yeah, that was the whole secret war.
I think that was
kind of like that little nod.
People hated that, by the way. Like Marvel comic fans, when it revealed, Steve Rogers has been a Nazi, Captain America's been a Nazi, they almost painted their brand forever.
But they ultimately did what they always do, where it was like, it actually wasn't Captain America.
It was a clone, or it was
it was a different version of Captain America. The thing that really sucked about that storyline was Deadpool kills Agent Coulson. Agent Coulson's dead, at least in the comics. Again, my buddy Frank is saying old Steve Rogers lived in an alternate universe. The Russos came out and said that he came back to drop the shield off.
So he went back. So when he's with Agent Carter, that spins off a different. Well, does it or does it not? What are the rules here? I just wish they'd been a little clearer in explaining that.
Well, I think the unfortunate thing is that if they're going to be trying to explain all of that, the movie's already 3 hours long, and trying to over-explain that stuff, like you just have to have the just the fantasy of belief. At one point, and just go with it and realize that there's stuff that happens off screen. Like the one thing that people were complaining about was, they just glazed over Black Widow's death. And it's like, well, they probably had a funeral and stuff for her, but they didn't put it in there, but they're going to show Tony's funeral. And they gave her an homage at the end with Hawkeye and Scarlet Witch, which was kind of, when they're talking by the lake, and he's like, I really wish I could let her know that we did it, we won. And Scarlet Witch goes, I think they know, meaning both Black Widow and Vision, because that's kind of the homage to the two Avengers that died.
When a movie really does a good job of wrapping up all the ends and tying them in a neat bow, it's a work of genius. And one that I would say is Sixth Sense, that reveal and everything and the way it came up, and it was just so well done that you look back at it and you go, it totally makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
All along, everything falls into place and makes sense, whereas this is clunky. I feel like it's just...
But the thing that you got to remember, the way they explained it in the movie is that and they briefly touch on it, where they're like, if we were to go back in time, that now becomes our future and now becomes our past. And so...
God, I hate time travel as a plot device.
And that's the thing, is that if you're looking at it okay, so Back to the Future, if we go back in time and we disrupt it, we no longer exist because our parents didn't hook up because, for whatever reason, and you got the picture of all the kids, the McFly kids disappearing in the photo.
Yeah, probably not the way it works.
But see, they explained it. But see, that's the thing, is they explain it in Endgame. They're like, that's not how it works. It's not time isn't linear. It's not just going in this direction. So if you go back here, it changes because one of the things here somebody's saying was that it had to do with what happened to Thanos. If he turned to ash, if the 2014 Thanos turned to ash up here in 2019 or whatever the end game date is. So when he's up here, the only problem with that is it's not directly linked. Like, it's not
Right.
linear.
It's
It goes the
already
easiest
it's
way.
getting so inelegant. You know what I mean?
Well, it doesn't need
I
to be
thought they
elegant.
could have done better.
Let me see here. Let me look in the YouTube chat. Juan says, I think the funeral was an introduction to Young Avengers from the kid from Iron Man 3 being there, taking over for Tony Stark. They explain that part when War Machine gives the option to kill Thanos as a baby. Eric Salvador's bringing it up. Yeah, remember, he's like, why don't we just go back in time and kill Thanos as a baby?
And what did they say?
And they're like, it doesn't work that way. It's just, I can't remember exactly how they explain it in the movie, but it's explained to the sense that you can't just, it's like, would you go back and kill baby Hitler? Well, you don't know because you might be creating something even worse. So it doesn't work that way. The whole point is they need to go back. That's why they don't go back to the time when Thanos snapped his fingers. Like they specifically said, don't change the past 5 years. All you're doing is bringing them back to now. Because at this point, Thanos had already snapped his fingers. Thanos is already dead because remember, Thor cuts his head off. And now you're 5 years down the road. And they're like, just bring those people back and then we'll go leave those stones back. And then we'll prevent, alternate realities sparking from there. Anyway, what other plot holes?
I had more of them, but I can't.
Are you blanking on them now?
Yeah, a little bit.
Okay, so did you have you seen that they oh, here we go.
My main point is I hate time travel as a plot device.
Yeah, okay, we get that at this point. So producer Dave, he's in the YouTube chat. He said, what scene or line did you think was the funniest that made you laugh out loud? Oh, dude, fucking fool. That kid on the TV is calling me a dickhead again. And then he goes over and he gets on the headset. He's like, Nuke Master 69. Yeah, Nuke Master 69. And he gets on the headset and he's talking about he's going to rip his arms off, stuff him up his butt. He's like, oh, go cry to daddy, Nuke Master 69. Like that. Even after the fact, I caught myself laughing in the car 2 to 3 days after I saw that scene. Like, that's how funny that damn scene was to me.
I thought there were funnier lines in Infinity War. Like, Infinity War, in my mind, wins even when it comes to memorable, funny lines.
What was a funnier line?
Not in front of the wizards.
Okay, yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong. Like, here's the thing. For me, saying that Endgame was better than Infinity War, it's like a 1A, 1B thing for me. Like, because for me, like, you could truly just you could truly look at it as one movie.
I saw Endgame once, and I saw Infinity War a half a dozen times. So,
well, maybe you should go see Endgame another time.
I will. I will.
Maybe it'll shore up some of those timeline problems you're having.
That.
Let me see here. Frank says technically it was a time heist. Okay, so anyway, any other things on Endgame here? If you guys want to bring up anything for Endgame, let's bring it up on the YouTube chat here. There's been a lot of stories or a lot of people saying like the rat was technically the biggest hero of all.
The rat?
The rat that hits the buttons inside the van that sparks Scott Lang to come back. Okay. And, because that kind of sparks the whole thing, really?
So Peter Parker finds himself 5 years in the future from when he was killed. And he has to go back to high school? Does that mean he's going to high school with kids who were in 4th grade?
Probably.
And it just so happens that his friend Ned turned to ash?
There was a 50-50 chance he turned to ash.
Okay.
I mean, I'd say that's a pretty good odds.
So it's just like, oh, you're one of the 50% of people who disappeared. Guess what? You got to enroll back in school again.
Well, you do.
Technically, you're 23, but you still got to go to high school.
No, because they missed that whole 5 years. Like, they didn't age at all. They were gone.
Their birth date is still the same.
Oh, good Lord. Yeah, but they're not. They didn't actually age normally.
Also, think about the amount of insurance that had to have paid out, like life insurance benefits, that now those people technically might be guilty of insurance fraud. Mm-hmm. They pop back up and they've already paid out the money.
Well,
the family spent the money. It's like, we want our insurance. It probably would have collapse the insurance business, I suppose.
Well, there are a lot of things that we could bring up there. Eric is saying that there is one direct timeline. Well, there's not. I mean, I understand what you're saying in the sense that yes, they went back, they took the stones, and then they took the stones back exactly when they got them. But the one plot point that does fall apart is that if Thanos from the past came to the future and then he got turned to ash, doesn't that completely undo the original snap? Like that's one of those things where like it's the timeline isn't linear, and they explained it in the movie. Roberto just jumped in. He said he wants to know why Buzz thinks Infinity War is better. Time travel is really kind of the main plot point there. Is that the one that he's already mentioned it a few times? He's not a fan of time travel.
I'll say this for Back to the Future: at least they had a set of rules that they adhered to. You know what I mean? Their time travel had a set of rules. As ridiculous as those rules might have been, they were at least kind of consistent over 3 movies for those rules.
But the thing that I think can be glazed over or is a little simplistic is explaining time travel in a movie.
Yeah, but explain to me why they couldn't just go back, bring Natasha from the past, bring Tony from the past. It's like, hey, we need Iron Man. We're going to take you from the past. You know, you could do it with some things, but not with others. And it would screw up a timeline, or it wouldn't, or it would create an alternate reality, or it wouldn't. It's just, I wish there was some kind of logic to it.
Well, I mean, maybe there is. Maybe that gets answered down the road.
Okay.
You know, as far as I know, time travel's not simple. At least that's what I've heard, is that it's not like the easiest thing on the planet to do. Okay. But anyway, so we can talk about some Easter eggs now. Frank is ready to jump into Easter eggs. Did you catch the Marvel Rowdy relationship? Captain Marvel and Rowdy. Remember when they were the holograms and they're talking to Black Widow?
Who the fuck is Rowdy? Who's Rowdy?
Rowdy from the War Machine.
Rhodey?
Rhodey, that's it.
Oh, Jesus.
He wrote Rowdy. Rhodey. Damn, Frank, do you spell Rhodey wrong? I kept having me saying Rowdy. But yeah, the relationship between Captain Marvel, because in the comics, I believe they hook up. Yeah. And when they're holograms, she specifically looks at him and she's like, "Be careful." Like a little hint, I guess.
Maybe they knew each other in a different alternate reality because of time travel.
Okay, and then the other one too was the one. This is the one Buzz and I were talking about off air. Was the kind of the hint to the Submariner or Namor, which was the earthquake off of Africa.
That was way too subtle for me to catch.
I didn't either. But that's one of those ones that has been brought up where people were like, that could technically. I mean, it might not.
It might be imagination.
It might just be something simple. But with how in depth Marvel goes, all these with these movies, that could be something leading to.
So explain what it is.
It's just they're talking about an earthquake off the coast of Africa.
Who was?
Black Widow brings it up to what's her face, Michonne. What's her name in Black Panther?
Michonne.
All right, we'll call her Michonne. So she brings it up to her, and she's like, it's an earthquake. We're not doing anything about it. And there's people who are saying that's actually some sort of
Namor's realm.
There's some sort of a battle happening, underneath the ocean with Namor down there.
Sure.
Captain Marvel and Spider-Man hook up in the comics as well. Yes, they do, Juan.
Captain Marvel and who? Spider-Man?
Spider-Man.
Yeah, she
did
gets
Stan
around.
Lee have his cameo? Yes, he did, as a young Stan Lee in 1970.
Like a middle-aged. I wouldn't say young.
Younger. Greg says Captain Marvel was useless. No, she wasn't. She prevented Thanos from making the snap at the end.
She rescued Tony Stark from dying in a spaceship out in the middle of the
she brought him
it back on her shoulders.
Which is okay. So that's a good transition. If there's anything else you guys want to bring up about Endgame, by all means. But the thing that really, really got under Buzz's skin was the list of who's the strongest superhero.
Oh, one more thing.
Oh, yes. Do tell.
Captain Marvel. They made such a big thing about that cat that wasn't really a cat. Where was the fucking cat?
Well, maybe it wasn't necessary in this.
Oh, that happened back in the 90s. So maybe that species, whatever that alien is,
got wiped out?
No, just has a similar lifespan of an actual cat.
Well, maybe they have 9 lives, though. Okay. You never know. Okay, so one of the things I was bringing up here to Buzz, I was showing him the old Marvel Illustrated.
They did a swimsuit edition with Marvel Comics, which was great when you're like a 12-year-old kid
until they get
to the dudes and all the Marvel heroes.
And I'm just going to show it kind of briefly because we could get in trouble for this, right? But anyway, so that's the cover of it. I don't know if you guys can even really see that.
But it gets into like Wolverine, and he's covered in body hair, and he's wearing a banana hammock, and it's just like, why are you showing me this?
They weren't wearing banana hammocks. They were wearing just regular swim trunks.
Some of them.
Were wearing banana hammocks though. But it was interesting because they had all these like phony ads. Like there was one here for Wolverine Macho Speed Stick deodorant. But the reason I'm bringing this one up specifically is because they did a sort of superhero Olympics in this issue. And what it brought up was who's the strongest, who's the fastest, and so on and so forth.
Yeah, okay.
And so your problem with that list that Lisa had brought up that somebody else had written, who was number one?
They had Hulk. I think it was Captain Marvel, but they had Hulk at 8. So the strongest Avengers.
So who do you think should be the strongest?
Okay, through the years, Marvel has put in, like a guide to the Marvel Universe or a little insert that went in something. Consistently, Hulk is the physically strongest Marvel superhero, and I'm not counting like Galactus or. Here's an example. Professor X mentally might be able to be more powerful.
Yeah, like with his mind, like this pen could weigh 50 million tons, and he could do this with it, but he's not using his muscle.
Right, but
he's using his brain.
Brute strength, the Hulk has consistently been the strongest Marvel character.
Okay, so what they have here, and this was the Super Olympics that was in this Marvel Illustrated issue back in 1991. And they had a 1,000-meter dash because a 100-meter dash would have obviously gone too quick. The fastest person they have is Makari.
I don't know who that is.
And then coming in second was Quicksilver. And then coming in third was Super Saber. Those are your 3 fastest, apparently, according to this.
Okay,
at least those who ran the race.
I only heard of one of them.
And then they also did an 800-meter hurdles and high jumps. And for here they had coming in first, Long Shot. Coming in second, Beast.
For a high jump? Well, that's just because Hulk didn't enter. Hulk has leaped almost into the outer atmosphere before.
You're really pro...
You can't underestimate how strong the Hulk is. The Hulk could leap over mountains.
So then you got Frogman taking third, Toad
Bullshit.
taking fourth, and then Speedball taking fifth. I mean, Hulk probably wasn't in that competition.
He didn't enter.
Okay, so then the next one we have here, this one was some sort of a mat horse bar slalom, like gymnastics. And coming in first, you had Nightcrawler.
I'm good with that.
Number 2,
he was raised in the circus.
Number 2, you had Black Panther.
Not more than Beast. I mean,
but
Beast
this is a different category.
Oh, so
I don't think Beast was even in.
These are the only ones who entered.
Black Panther took second. Tigra took third. Spider-Man took fourth.
No. Spider-Man would win in gymnastics contest against Black Panther.
And then Wolfsbane took fifth. Here we go. Okay, don't look yet.
Okay.
Don't look yet. Okay, so we have weightlifting.
Yeah, Hulk.
But what it says underneath weightlifting. He speaks softly and carries a big hammer. The strongest being in the world. Thor quote, "Truly I am proud of this accomplishment, and prouder still to know this most valiant assembly, even Hercules." So here is how they had this listed. As they have, it looks like 11 or so, or 10 total characters.
Is Hulk in there?
Hulk is. What place do you think he came in?
First.
No. Thor was first. We just announced that.
Second.
No. Hercules was second.
Well, now it's bullshit. It's just total bullshit
before. At this point. So then, okay, so what else?
Like, who else would be on the list?
Oh, Hulk tied for second with Hercules, apparently.
That's horseshit.
Coming in third was Wonder Man. Coming in fourth was Thing. Tied with Namor. Yeah. Coming in fifth was She-Hulk. Tied for sixth were Colossus and Sasquatch. And then rounding it all out was Power Man.
And this is what year?
This was 1991. Hold on, I got to go back and check the.
I had like the Marvel Encyclopedia, which were a series of comic books that would be like A through B, and then the next month C through D would come out, and they gave like a power ranking of all the different powers, but strength was definitely one of them, and they put it on a scale like how many tons could they lift, and the upper end is like 100 tons. So Hulk could lift 100 tons.
Well,
and I read that so much you could name probably any superhero, and I could tell you how many tons they could lift.
Well, they also had that on the old playing cards, not the playing cards, but the collector cards, like baseball cards that they had for superheroes. On the back, it would list their powers, their alias, any kind of clan or any kind of group that they were associated with,
the status of their identity, is it publicly known?
Exactly,
Is it right?
And then it would also have something to the effect of how much they could lift. And I remember the one I remember was Spider-Man, because I remember looking at it, I was like, he's a lot stronger than I thought he was. And I'll see if I can
he's
get
like
those.
40 tons.
I'm going to be back in Portland here in like a week and a half. I'm going to see if I can find those cards. I'll bring them back, and then I can show you where it says on the back of the card how much each person could lift. But also on this list here, you had the 1,000 meter swimming.
Namor.
Yeah, Submariner.
Tiger Shark.
Nope, didn't compete. Namorita.
Oh, well, he was a villain.
Triton took third, Stingray took fourth, and Andromeda took fifth. And then you also had synchronized swimming.
Oh, yeah?
They had Namor and Namorita. They came in second with a 9.89, but the winner was Multiple Man. Apparently, he was good at synchronized swimming.
Well, he can make many copies of himself, so.
Exactly. Let me see here. So then we also have the biathlon. Oh, this seems like a load of crap.
What's that, shooting and...
Yeah.
See,
shooting and skiing. Who do you think came in first?
In shooting and skiing?
Yeah.
Hawkeye?
No. Hawkeye didn't even compete, apparently, in this one. Nick Fury. It's got him there. It's got Silver Sable coming in second, Paladin coming in third, and Cable coming in fourth.
I don't picture Nick Fury as a skier.
Speed skating. There's an obvious one who would have won that one.
Iceman,
correct.
All right, we'll play this game. Go ahead.
Okay, so they also had figure skating.
Iceman.
No.
Figure skating.
Yeah, we mentioned one of these characters on the air today.
Dazzler.
Dazzler came in second.
Ugh.
And then Dagger, I believe from Cloak and Dagger, came in first on that one. Shadowcat came in third. And Silver Sable came in fourth.
Has it ever been established that these characters even know how to ice skate?
Apparently they do in this Olympics that happened in this Marvel Illustrated article or magazine from 1991.
I take this about as seriously as the Hanna-Barbera Laugh Olympics.
Dude, the Laugh Olympics were great. I used to love the Laugh Olympics. They would show up, like they would come on late at night. See, look, and then you got this spoof Beast ad here where it's for like a conditioner, where he's got like frizzy hair on one side and it's smoothly combed on the other. I think that's it in regards to the Olympics.
Is anybody looking forward to the X-Men Dark Phoenix?
Not really.
Yeah, I'm not either.
Like
they've hashed that up really bad.
It's been kind of butchered. All right, let me go back to the YouTube chat here really quick. Mike says, I remember seeing a swimsuit X-Men thing back when the show was on Saturday morning cartoons. Psylocke was posing in a lagoon or something. It was insane. You know what? I actually have that picture here because it was in this issue where you had Psylocke. Oops. Oh, crap. I hope that wasn't it because I just closed the tab.
Oh, yeah. I see.
See, so this is the one. Like, they're not in banana hammocks.
No.
Like, you made it look like they were,
Yeah, but Namor was. I think Namor was in a... Totally.
Is that the one that you're talking about there? I don't know if you guys can see it or not, but that's the one with Psylocke where she's in the lagoon. And then there was the one that Buzz was talking about with. Oh, guess who's on this one? Howard the Duck. I just had the Namor one here. Where did he go?
While you're looking that up,
yes,
I want to mention one of my favorite things they've done in the Marvel Cinematic Universe is they've done away for the most part.
Loincloth.
Yeah, I saw another one where he's wearing just like Speedos. They did away with the necessity for secret identities for the most part. I mean, Peter Parker is still semi-secret, but the fact that you don't have to keep up this whole thing like, oh, how's Tony going to keep the world from knowing he's Iron Man, or how is
No,
Thor
they got rid of
gonna...
that really quick.
Yeah.
When, in the first movie, he comes out and says, "I am Iron Man."
And I am so glad that they did that. I hear that line was improvised. I don't know if it's true
I
by
heard that
Tony
too,
Stark,
and I'm not really sure I believe it.
I don't believe it 100%, but just whoever did make the decision to, for the most part, do away with the secret identities, I thought saved a lot of aggravation.
Okay, so, so my buddy Frank is saying that Spider-Man: Far From Home is going to take place a few months after the Endgame events. I thought that it was like, I've heard that it's actually supposed to be a prequel, because I believe Tony makes an appearance, but I could be wrong. But also, so here we go. So this is how we'll wrap this thing up. Where do you think the MCU is going to go? And here I found this list on Screen Rant, and they have 10 different ways that this could go. They could do a cosmic focus. Because one of the cool things that I want to see Thor with the Guardians of the Galaxy. He cracks the joke, the Asgardians of the Galaxy. That's an actual comic that they're running right now.
Really?
The Asgardians of the Galaxy. But it's not Thor with the Guardians of the Galaxy. Like, that's not who it is at all. But I figured that would be kind of cool. I mean, you do have the Eternals that are going to be popping up here in the MCU. And of course, with the introduction of Captain Marvel, you're opening up that entire universe out there. Because remember, Tony says it flat out. He goes, we can bust all the drug dealers and all the smugglers we want down here, but that up there, that's the end game. So what do you think? Yay or nay? I'll give you the synopsis.
Do I
you say
think,
yes or no.
do I...
Would you want it?
No, and I'll tell you why. I really liked the movies that were more grounded, based. So my favorite of all the Marvel cinematic movies is Captain America: First Avenger, because that's not so hard to believe. I mean, we have steroids and performance-enhancing stuff, and it's not too hard to believe that they could come up with something that would make, a scrawny guy virtually superhuman. Iron Man, I thought, was fairly grounded in reality. It's not hard to imagine. I mean, sure, it's fantastic.
It's still fantastic, but
it's a guy in a mechanical suit. I almost wish, even Hulk, it's like the same thing that Captain America.
It's just to another extreme,
right? Out of control. I almost wish they'd left all the magic and gods, and that means Thor. And I love Thor and Chris Hemsworth. He's one of the best things, but
he was arguably the best thing.
I wish they'd just left it more grounded. And I know it sounds silly because I'm arguing to make more realistic superhero movies,
yeah.
But without getting the gods and the cosmic. So that's the part that I like the least.
Okay, so you're a no ongoing cosmic. The next one on this list is taking up the mantle, which means setting up the way that they did Captain America, giving Falcon the title of Captain America, and so on and so forth. So,
yeah, even in the
Clint's
comics,
daughter possibly becoming Hawkeye, or that kid from Iron Man 3 becoming Iron Man. So somebody else kind of taking over rather than rebooting. I do hope they do that. Like, I don't necessarily think they need to focus on those characters, but I would rather them continue the stories like that than go back and reboot again.
When they did it in the comic books, it was kind of an attempt to breathe new life into what they had decided, was an old horse. And eventually, they just hit the reset button in the comic books. It's like, okay, well, you know what? We're starting all over again. Peter Parker's a teenager.
Yeah.
Now and they just kind of hit the restart button. And I think for a lot of characters, especially Captain America, it's really important that he was a soldier in World War II. They didn't update it when they came out with Captain America this time around and make him like, oh, he was an Iraq War veteran. In World War II.
They kept the origin.
And I think that character of Steve Rogers being a scrawny guy who really wanted to do his part, and he, through a series of circumstances beyond his control, that's the heart of the character there, is Steve Rogers more than Captain America. Also,
so yes or no on taking over the mantle? Like would you like
in
to
some
see that?
cases, maybe. I mean, I forgot how it worked in the comics, but Steve Rogers had the super soldier serum, which it doesn't make you as strong as Thor or the Hulk, but it's still something. Sam
He's got
Wilson
nothing.
is got a flying machine,
Yeah,
right?
he's
Like
beautiful.
I don't think he's super
And
strong
that's
or anything.
something
What is he
that's-
without his flying machine?
And that's the thing that still bothers me about Falcon too, is how is he surviving some of this crap that he's getting put
Oh,
through?
here's a plot hole for all along. You got Falcon who could just get hit by a stray bullet and die.
Yeah.
You got Captain America who, resilient, but if a grenade went off, it'd blow him up. You got Hawkeye. Once again, stray bullet could kill him.
But
Why
that's
doesn't
why
Tony
they
Stark
shoot him.
build Iron Man suits for all of them? Because it would not
He
make the
bu-
movie as exciting.
True.
I mean,
He-
yeah,
he
sure, I
built
get.
one- he built one for Spider-Man.
Well, he
Um,
built a cool suit for Spider-Man, but like something.
Well, I mean, towards the end, it was technically kind of an Iron Man suit, if you think about it. It was just a Spider-Man iron suit.
In Age of Ultron, they're storming the castle at the beginning, and I think Hawkeye gets nicked by a bullet, and Tony says, "Hey, we got to get some of our more vulnerable members out of here." It's like, Tony, they don't
You
have
can
to be
help 'em out.
vulnerable. You can build them one of your cool ass suits, like the ones you destroyed dozens of at the end of Iron Man 3.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not to be stupid. If you did that, you wouldn't have the cool. It's cooler that they have different powers, but at the same
Their
time,
own
it's like,
abilities.
yeah, and different weaknesses and stuff. But I mean, it would make more sense if Tony just made Iron Man suits for everybody who wasn't already invincible.
Okay, so the original Avengers that we were talking about here, the core, you had Iron Man, Captain America, and Thor, right? Like those were the big three.
And Black Widow and Hawkeye. I think.
No, I'm talking like solo movies. Like, because we're talking about where the MCU can go from here.
Okay.
Those were the three movies that really built up to the Avengers. And this is something that somebody had just put into the YouTube chat. Jesse said this about the new big four being Black Panther, Doctor Strange, Spider-Man, and Captain Marvel. Would you like to see that, where they it's their individual movies, and then they are the ones who are taking over as the Avengers?
I'd go see them. I mean, I don't think I'd be as excited necessarily, but I wasn't excited when I heard Guardians of the Galaxy was coming out.
And you liked it, right?
Yeah, it was good.
Okay, so the next one here of kind of what direction is the MCU going to be going? Ask Guardians of the Galaxy.
Ass Guardians. It sounded like
Garden
ass.
As Guardians of the Galaxy, which I think would be really cool. I would love to see Thor with the Guardians of the Galaxy in Guardians of the Galaxy 3 tracking down Gamora in some way, shape, or form. I still like my Soul Stone theory. And you can be like, oh, there's no Soul Stone. Frank, maybe there is. You don't know. You don't know. So what do you think? As Guardians of the Galaxy, yay or nay?
Pretty much anything they put out, I'm gonna give it a shot. I mean, it doesn't really resonate. It doesn't get my motor running.
Okay, like on a
Which Asgardians, by the way?
Well, that would probably be Thor with the Guardians of the Galaxy. At least that's the way that they teased it. The way they teased it at the end of Endgame.
I was going to say, like, the main Asgardians that popped up in some of the Thor movies have died.
Mm-hmm. I mean, you'd be able to have maybe Valkyrie if they get her away from New Asgard. What about this potential for the MCU direction to go? Lots of prequels.
You keep saying prequels, and it makes me think that we're talking about an origin of young
You mean
Star-Lord.
So what do you say? Prequel?
Prequel.
Lots of prequels.
Prequels. I don't know. I mean, it seems like it would be a little anticlimactic after
to go from that to then how we all kind of came to meet everybody.
Let's find out how Black Widow became Black Widow before she was unceremoniously killed off the side of a cliff in the Soul Stone.
True. The next one here, and this is one I hope that they definitely do not go down the path of alternate realities. Because there's a lot of talk that ever since that they went back to New York and Loki ends up with the Tesseract, that sparked a whole different reality from that point on. So Loki is alive somewhere, and you would be able to go, do a whole movie about that. That's one I don't want to see. I hope they don't go down that route. What about you?
Yeah, I wouldn't be excited for that.
Another one here could be completely new characters.
I noticed they've got a picture of Captain Britain there.
That's yep. So
Captain Britain actually already on Marvel Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. In fact, he's been on it
oh really?
and then left it.
Well, so they have here, while characters who came over from Fox will still be years away from joining the MCU, we do know that the Eternals and Shang-Chi are on the way. Like those have been teased before. But some of the rumored additions are Namor, Captain Britain, and Black Knight. Not Moon Knight.
Not Moon Knight.
You're really upset about that, aren't you? The next one here is another big bad. What could be a big, like, because this whole
Like the
Infinity
big
Saga.
bad. If you bring Fantastic Four, I thought you brought up a great point. Doctor
Doom.
Doom is maybe one of the best Marvel villains.
Another one here that gets brought up that I think you would absolutely hate because one of his whole things is traveling through time. Kang the Conqueror.
Okay.
And that's something that's been brought up. And then again, these are just theories of like this is potential, like what could possibly see. Marvel hasn't said anything about some of this stuff.
I know it's a different studio, but the second Fantastic Four, The Rise of Silver Surfer, boy, did they ever waste Galactus?
Mm-hmm.
They never even showed Galactus.
Yeah, that was terrible. And then the final one here that we'll bring up in regards to what can the MCU do and what direction can they go is the fact that there is just no more Avengers. That Endgame ended it was the Infinity Saga. That was it. We'll get Spider-Man Far From Home and then a few more movies, but maybe they don't even attempt to tackle something as big as they did with Infinity Saga again, and they put their efforts elsewhere.
Well, I can tell you that we're not thinking this far ahead, but they'll reboot this someday. They'll just hit the reset button.
Well, of course.
And if you don't believe they can do that, just imagine when Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man trilogy ended, you were thinking, well, that's Spider-Man. They did it within a couple of years.
Yeah.
They started.
And then they did it again.
And then they did it again because it was kind of a false start on the Andrew Garfield, although I thought he was good.
But the thing that makes this more difficult is that you do have franchises that just started in Black Panther.
That made $1 billion. They're not going to not make a sequel to $1 billion.
And that's what I'm saying is that you do have these franchises like the Black Panther, like Captain Marvel, Spider-Man that's now about to get his second movie.
I'll tell you what I would watch the out of
Moon Knight.
Marvel Zombies.
Oh, there you go.
If somebody did a Marvel Zombies.
Marvel Zombies, huh?
Just even if they said, oh, it's an alternate timeline or anything like that, they've still got my money because I'll go see it.
Well, and Frank is saying here that some people still feel that Secret Wars is being set up. I really hope they don't do Secret Wars. That's the one that had Captain America as a Hydra agent the whole time.
Yeah, but they don't have to do it that way. Isn't Secret Wars also the one where they had a robotic clone of Thor that was the bad guy that killed a bunch of the superheroes, or was that one of the mutations of Civil War?
I think that was Civil War 2 when that one happened, and I believe it was Civil War 2 when Hulk died and Hawkeye kills him. Because Hulk basically, he gives him this arrow, and he's like, if anything happens, I need you to take me out, and he does.
Speaking of Hulk, did it feel like they didn't utilize Hulk as much in Endgame? I mean, he was kind of on the sidelines for Infinity War, and then he got trapped under the building. So it seems like they were intentionally minimizing. Is it so expensive to CGI the Hulk that they left him out of?
He was around a lot.
He was talking, signing autograph, not smashing shit.
I mean, he was in the final scene because remember because he's down below, and then right as you hear the Cap on your left, and then all of the Avengers show up, which by the way was fucking awesome. All of a sudden you have Ant-Man because he made his way down there, and then he becomes gigantic, and he's got the Hulk. Which by the way, that is one thing that was weird to me. Is like how goddamn heavy is the Hulk, and why can Ant-Man hold him up? Why can he? Because Hulk is freakishly heavy.
Yeah, like 2,500 pounds.
So giant Ant-Man can hold that?
Well, I guess. Yeah. I mean, really.
Basically, he pops up, opens his hand, and you've got Rocket and Hulk.
I thought they were left him on the sidelines a lot, and that includes times when he was in Hulk form, but he really wasn't doing
Like the
anything
scene when they
superhuman.
show up in New York and they're like, and maybe smash a little on the way. And he's like, and he goes up and he's like hitting the car.
Yeah.
But anyway, if there's anything else you guys want to bring up, we got to wrap this thing up. Go ahead and put it in the YouTube chat right now. If there's anything we missed earlier, because I was trying to go through a whole bunch of tabs here, bring it back up right now if there's anything you want us to get to here before we wrap up.
Got a question for you.
Absolutely.
How long, if ever, do you think it'll be before they try and make a Hulk movie all around the Hulk?
A solo movie?
Yeah.
Or origin or just in general?
In general. Anything. It doesn't have to be Mark Ruffalo. It could be a reboot. It could be an origin. Anything. Or do you think they've just decided, you know what, for whatever reason, Hulk can't be his own movie?
You know, I honestly, the way that they brought him back in Endgame and the way that they ended up bringing him in where he is basically Professor Hulk, where he's the best of both worlds, where it's a Hulk that talks, that is Bruce Banner. I could see that happening in a couple of years if they go down that route. But here's what I think would be great for the MCU. I do like that theory of the new Avengers kind of taking over, where you have who is it? Captain Marvel, Spider-Man, Black Panther, Doctor Strange. That's one. You're probably not going to like that because a lot of that would have to do with kind of more of the supernatural aspect, especially with Doctor Strange being there and Captain Marvel being from outer space. But I would like to see them continue on with those solo movies and then building up to something big. I think Doctor Doom would be a great big bad guy to bring in. But I ultimately would love to see they could always do a Civil War 2, because Civil War 2 was all about one of the Inhumans. Now they really butchered that show, but was one of the Inhumans.
I tried to watch that.
They had an Inhuman that could predict the future, or they thought could predict the future. And so Captain Marvel's whole thing is, well, if this person says this is going to happen, it was a Minority Report with Tom Cruise? We're going to go arrest the person before the crime actually happens.
Okay.
Was that what that was? That's kind of what the whole premise behind Civil War 2 was, except it was Tony who's against that, saying you're giving up our free will, which is interesting because that's, kind of flip-flop from the first Civil War when he was saying we need to all be, kept in check here.
Going back, I would love to see a take on the Marvel Universe where it's like, yes, they have superpowers, but there's no magic. There's nothing it's just a grounded Marvel thing. So you got the Hulk, and he's strong. Yeah, maybe he can lift a car, but he can't throw a tank over a mountain, for instance. Or you've got Captain America. Actually, I thought the Captain America they did
pretty good job
was a pretty good job with that. And just leave the outlandish, the gods and leave all that and just do a more grounded version of superheroes. They kind of did that, and this is a second reference to M. Night Shyamalan with Unbreakable. Mm-hmm. That was like a real stripped down, hey, here's somebody who's superhuman, but just barely.
Mm-hmm. Well, see, so what I would like is if they continue on with that storyline, they could either do Civil War 2, but ultimately I would like to see X-Men versus Avengers. Like that. Yeah. That's something that I would like to see on the big screen. Now, the problem with that, though, I take it back. You wouldn't really have to reboot the X-Men that's happening now, because in the comics, Scarlet Witch has already killed 90% of the mutants on the planet. They're all kind of secluded to one island.
That's see ruled that over by Magneto, right? Am I up to date on that in the comic books?
I don't think so. No. I don't think that's what's happening in Avengers versus X-Men. But it's a new Phoenix that's coming down that's going after Cyclops and Jean Grey's kid. And the X-Men are all for it because Cyclops is, we can capture this thing now. We know what to expect. We can save the kid, and we can become more powerful because of this. Whereas the Avengers, and it's actually Tony Stark is the one who's really against it, and Captain America. So you'd probably need somebody else to take those roles, which would be really easy to do. And then their whole thing is, you need to give us the kid because this thing's going to kill everybody. And so that's where the battle kind of comes in.
How's anybody else ever going to play Wolverine? I said the same thing about Tobey Maguire and Spider-Man, but how is anybody but Hugh Jackman ever going to play Wolverine?
It could happen, man. I would like.
could.
Frankly, I would like to see a Wolverine that looks more like Wolverine in the sense that
Like
he's only
5'3".
Yeah, he's just barely over 5 feet tall. He's hairy like Robin Williams, and he's just this stocky little, bowling ball of a man. Like that, I would like to see. But anyway, on that note, do you have anything else that you'd
No,
like to
that's
bring
all.
up here?
That's all I have.
You don't have any more, complaints about strength overall because producer Dave is asking. So if Giant Man, does his strength multiply exponentially as he grows?
Well, I was going to
So that would
mention
technically make him stronger than the Hulk.
one thing about Giant Man is if you could increase the size of a human being, they wouldn't be able to move. There's a reason dinosaurs had these huge legs and had to have a counterbalancing tail.
Mhm.
Just the human form, he would collapse under his own weight. I mean, it's physics. So.
All right. Well, on that note, more physics, less magic, I guess.
Yeah, that's.
Go. You hear that, Kevin Feige? More physics, less magic.
Sure.
All right, let's do that. Okay. On that note, you guys have yourselves a great day. And we can't talk about any of this tomorrow on the air.
Monday.
We'll bring up some of this stuff. And if you guys have anything that you want to bring up, drop us a line on Facebook. Hit us up on Twitter. It's @BuzzAdamShow. Or email. You can email Buzzley here, buzz@BuzzAdamShow.
Don't forget to subscribe and rate. I'm doing that because I see it on every YouTube video.
Oh, yeah. We're supposed to do that. I do that on the AfterBuzz. Make sure you subscribe, rate, click the like button, and click the little bell so you get the notifications as well.
And then
It's
you're
all down
supposed to
below,
do
quite
this.
below.
You make a hand.
Why?
I don't know. All those chicks that have YouTube channels do it.
So you want to be a chick on YouTube? Did you want to do that fake heart with your like boob skin again?
Brought to you by Dr. Pepper.
Not really, because they're not paying us any money.